I wasn't going to get involved in politics anymore. So I became a full professor at the University of Pennsylvania. But before that occurred, 3 universities came to me and said they wanted to interview me to consider my being a president of the university. My wife, who's a professor at a community college, has 2 masters and a PhD, but she's smarter than me. And she looked at me, she said, "If you do that, I'm leaving you." She said, "It's one of the toughest jobs in America, especially if you start arguing about parking spaces and office windows." Ted Cruz, the great senator from Texas, he said it's for slackers, quote, slackers who don't deserve relief. Who in the hell do they think they are? I mean it. But the state where Republican officials say we can afford student relief, that's because the first 2 years of my administration, that's because of historic deficit reduction, the very deficit reduction the Republicans voted against. This morning, so come January, folks whose debt isn't fully canceled are going to have to start paying the student loans off. That means billions of dollars a year are going to start coming back into the Treasury as well. My administration's plan is economically responsible and an economically responsible course to ensure a smooth transition to repayment and prevent unnecessary defaults. Now let's talk about who's against helping the millions of you who need the help, who want to make sure you have a shot. Republican members of Congress and Republican governors are doing everything they can to deny this relief, even to their own constituents. As soon as I announced my administration's plan on student debt, they started attacking it, saying all kinds of things. Their outrage is wrong and it's hypocritical. But we're not letting them get away with it. They've been fighting us in the courts. But just yesterday, state court and the Supreme Court said, no, we're on Biden's side. And I didn't even see all the way, I didn't see the bleachers up there. Hey, everybody. Don't jump, don't jump. So folks, one of the things I wanted to make sure is we didn't end up where we're in a position that Barack and I are in terms of the Affordable Care Act. It was made a little bit more difficult, but we made sure we tested it. We tested it for a weekend to see how it worked, John. And guess what? It worked. Almost 9 million people signed on. Less than a week, just close to 22 million people have already given us information to consider this life-changing relief. And in total, more than 40 million Americans stand to benefit from this relief. Howard University. Well, I tell you what, man, in case you haven't noticed, my VP is a Howard graduate. And she is a very vociferous Howard graduate. I'm always bragging, as Tony, as your president can tell you, I'm always bragging about Del State. And we got a little thing going. And besides that, we have a lot more folks. So, the Divine Nine kind of runs my operation. Oh, y'all think I'm kidding. You think I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. But I tell you what, to guarantee your win, I tried to figure out how we could do this. How to get Mike Przicki to play for you. Mike Przicki scored more receptions, I think, than any receiver in University of Delaware history. And hell of a good mayor, but he was even a better ball player. My administration did something that's never been done before. We invested $5.8 billion in HBCUs. Some suggested we couldn't get it done, but we got it done. And that money already is out the door being used very well. The first black woman on the Supreme Court, and she is smart as hell. I made that promise. No, by the way, watch her. Just watch her. Whoa. I've appointed more black women to the appellate courts in the United States than every other president combined in American history.